Come on, guys.
Open the box up.
All right, guys. Okay, everybody just be cool.
They think people are gonna come out of this thing.
Watch this. Okay, here I go. Here we go.
Right. Pop it open.
You opened it. We came.
All right, guys. Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, we called you. All right, close the box.
Got it.
Close the box. Close the box.
Did you see their face?
Did you see their face?
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
I'm on pins and needles.
Look at those nerds.
the state of them. Those geeks.
So you are afraid of something.
Death is.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Welcome to the madness.
We are the Mouths of Madness, your new favorite podcast for horror movie reviews. We're coming to you live tonight from the Dungeon of Doom. This is our episode 37 on the 1987 Hellraiser. My name is Kevin, and because of Hellraiser, I got my tight leather pants going tonight.
Yeah.
Got my long leather black trench coat.
Yeah. You the one, dog.
You know, and just for you, Bearclaw, I got a little crow makeup going.
Oh.
You're showing a little bit too much, man. Like, it's a little too
Let
constricting.
me tell you, the gym, Kevin. You've been, those reps are showing.
Yeah.
It's swollen here. It looks like you got stung by bees.
Man. Dang. Demons to some, angels to others. Let me introduce you to the other members of Madness. First, we have Dan. Are you excited for Hellraiser?
In honor of covering Hellraiser, I went out and got my 99th piercing.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
I can't tell you where I got it though. It's a secret.
Oh. Well, this magnet's gonna find out.
Oh no.
Where's my Chucky doll? He's good at keeping secrets.
Yeah.
Next, we have the mayor of Halloween Town. It's Bearclaw.
Yeah, I got brand new nipple clamps for this, which are really nice, and my assless chaps. Sorry about your furniture. And I think we're doing good here. Ready to really feel the pain of this one.
Ooh, speaking of feeling the pain, last but not least, the youngest member of Madness, my son Logan. Logan, where's your gear tonight?
Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't join you guys, but I gotta say it. You guys are really insanely just like, I can't even.
Too much, Logan, huh?
I'm really shocked by how much, like,
this is what they call Riz.
Yeah, I was going to say.
More like, it's unusual, but whatever floats your boat, I guess.
Ooh.
Well, there are a lot of other great horror movie podcasts out there, but what separates us from the other ones is that we're going to be giving you the older versus younger generation perspective. Myself, Dan, and Bearclaw were all born in the 1980s, while my son Logan was born in the 2000s. So this is the clash of the generations. Without any further ado, grab your Lament Configuration, pull up a chair, hold on to your straitjacket tight, and let's dive into the madness. We watched Hellraiser from 1987. It was written and directed by Clive Barker and is based on the novella The Hellbound Heart, also by Clive Barker. Did you know that this is the first film directed by Clive Barker?
Well, did you know?
Did you know? He did everything on this one. Casting-wise, we have Doug Bradley, who plays the iconic role of the lead Cenobite, otherwise known as Pinhead.
Yeah.
What'd you think of his performance?
I mean, just
Incredible.
Just incredible. How iconic is Pinhead? He may have started my love of horror. Seeing his face on the cover of this movie when I was younger, it's just one of those moments. It's like,
It was love at first sight.
It was just like, what is going on here? Like, I need to know more.
What am I feeling in my
What is going on?
Staring at that that cover tracing the face of Doug Bradley.
Just like looking at it, just like what? Like, I mean, because I mean, they were able to put that, which surprises me that they were able to put him on the cover of that in video stores and stuff. And I mean, just seeing that was just like, whoa, what? I mean, there's so many questions.
It definitely jumps out at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it grabs your attention.
You know,
for
I
sure.
gotta say, watching this made me think of Bearclaw watching the very first Friday the 13th.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Wow.
And we're gonna get into that as we go into the episode.
Little tease, Logan.
Yeah.
Was there any instant coffee in this one?
Oh,
Yeah.
there wasn't, but there was a lot of mindless walking into the house, walking into other rooms, just doing whatever, going people.
Wow. Well, we also have Ashley Lawrence, who plays Kirsty, who would later come back for a few more in the franchise, including the sequel.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh.
So she's kind of
Yeah.
like the Laurie Strode of
Hellraiser. Yeah.
Hey, here's the real question. What about Frank?
I haven't seen any of the other ones. Does Frank come back?
Frank does not come back in the second movie. I don't think he comes
You're
back
telling
in
me he
any
didn't
of them.
escape again? That should be the second
Julia
Hellraiser
does, though.
movie.
Julia comes back in the second one.
I'm not. I want Hellraiser 2, Return of Frank.
Dang.
Yeah. Hellraiser 2 is the return of Julia.
Well, what's also cool is Larry is played by Andrew Robinson. And this is something I was like, this actor looks familiar to me. I can't
does
put
look
my
very
finger on
familiar.
it.
Yeah, I don't know what he's from either, but he does have that familiar look.
What do we got?
I had to look it up. He played the Scorpio killer in Dirty Harry.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I was reading Quentin Tarantino's book on that, and that's one of the movies. It's called like Cinema Speculations or something like that. And it's a really good book. I'd highly recommend everybody pick it up. But he does like a Quentin Tarantino dive on all those movies, and that was and Dirty Harry was one of them. So interesting. I didn't know he played Scorpio.
It's one of my favorite movies, especially by Clint Eastwood. But I was like, whoa, I can see it now. Hellraiser had a budget of $1 million. Do you know how much it made at the box office?
It only had $1 million. They took $2 million to make. What year was Friday the 13th?
85.
85. 2 years later, they did this on half the budget.
We're talking about the one we just covered or the Friday the 13th, the OG?
No, the one we just covered.
Yeah.
Well,
it was-
Bearclaw, they didn't have any instant coffee. That's probably what kind.
Oh well,
I don't think there was any cocaine.
there was no cocaine, so that probably cut $1 million right out of the budget right there. So
That we know of.
but yeah, I mean, the fact that they were able to do this on $1 million is pretty spectacular.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Especially for the ending.
I would say if I was to give how much it's because this was a big movie in its day, I feel like I'm gonna go $30 million.
All right, Logan.
10 mil?
I'm going to go $30,000,001.
You son of a bitch.
No need for prices right here. Bearclaw's right on the nose.
Really?
Really?
$30 million.
Not $1. Not $1 more.
Not $1 more was made from this
$1 more.
movie.
Right on the nose. That's it. That's the cutoff.
That's a cutoff.
I'm pretty impressed by
No
that.
royalties were made.
Nope. Currently on Rotten Tomatoes, Hellraiser has a 70% critic score and a 73% audience score.
Wow, I'm surprised they're that low. I would have thought they were a little bit higher.
I don't.
I think that's fairly respectable
I
for a
think
horror
That is
movie.
respectable,
Fair.
yeah, for a horror movie. That's true. In 1987, too, horror movie.
Well,
Wow.
our guy Roger Ebert, he was not a fan of Hellraiser.
Roger Ebert wasn't a fan of horror movies. I mean, he just...
I like this guy.
What did he have to say about it?
So he gave Hellraiser a half star out of 4.
What?
And he said, as dreary a piece of goods as has masqueraded as horror in many a long, cold night.
Holy
What?
shit, man. This guy's just high as balls writing these reviews.
Yeah,
what the hell was that?
He's on the ketamine.
Has he watched the movie again? How many, these guys' job was to watch movies, and I feel like they watched very few of
That was
them.
like Mike Myers doing beat poetry. Like, what the hell was that shit?
Oh my goodness. One of these times we're going to get one he likes, I think.
Yeah,
One of
I
these
don't
times
know.
we're
We're all
actually going to
gonna
get a
actually
good
end up
review.
hating it too.
It's gonna be like Driving Miss Daisy. Oh, that was like a cinema masterpiece.
Oh man, I want to save it for like after like we're all like victim, and then I'm like, well, Roger Ebert.
Roger
gave
Ebert
it 4 stars.
loved
4
this movie.
stars. Oh my goodness. Well, let's give you our overall thoughts on Hellraiser. Dan, start us off.
What I love about this movie is that it is 100% the vision of the individual who developed the concept. He wrote a novelization for it, and then it went straight to film. This is Clive Barker's vision. It's a unique and original concept that explores the dark side of human nature and the pain and pleasure derived from it. The love triangle story, for me, it was very engaging. The Cenobites are visually unsettling in a good way. The makeup effects and artists really went for it, trying to capture Barker's vision. I think some of it holds up well, like Skinless Frank and Pinhead's makeup, while other elements of it don't really hold up too well. The film's depiction of the engineer is just, leave that out completely. It just did not come off well.
You know what's crazy is too, I actually was like startled by it because like it came out.
It's very.
I came out because I never seen this movie. We're gonna get into that, but I was watching it, and this asshole here was like, "Oh, can you see the cart?" And I was like, God damn it, because now all I can see is the cart, and it ruined the entire thing.
Exactly, the cart.
I've seen this movie about 100 times. I don't think I've seen the cart once.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not until somebody points it out, and then it's all you can see.
Asshole who pointed it.
This is Michael all over
I should
again.
have been
I'm
the
not going to be
asshole
able.
who pointed it out when Bearclaw and I watched it.
I'm not going to be able to see the Lost Boys again without hearing Michael every 5 minutes now and counting in my head like, oh, they do say that a lot.
Michael.
Kirsty, played by Ashley Lawrence, reminded me so much of Heather Langenkamp's Nancy Thomas. Like, there's a couple parallels there.
Thompson.
Yeah, Thompson. Yeah, thank you. Nancy loses her mother to Freddy, much like how Kirsty loses her father to Frank. Skinless Frank also reminded me of Robert Englund's Freddy Krueger, as they are both horribly disfigured sexual deviants back from the dead.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty much, yeah. Could say this movie's unoriginal.
Frank Cotton, Freddy Krueger. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I mean, how cool was his like wet skin though, and like the blood, and like how like he was wearing like a suit, and you could see it was like staining this.
Well,
suit.
that's why it also reminds me like of the original Nightmare on Elm Street, because Freddy was also kind of wet and
Yeah, he looks wet.
bloody and
gooey.
gooey.
See
Yeah.
that tongue, Bearclaw? That tongue was wet.
Oof.
For me, like this kind of, it's almost like a British version of Nightmare on Elm Street is the way that I would depict it.
It is a British
I like
version.
it. Yeah, I
is
like that you
true.
said that because I kind of noticed the same things with Frank and Freddy, like, makeup wise, especially. But now some of the other similarities, I'm right there with you.
But those are my opening thoughts. What do you got, Bearclaw?
You guys are gonna unfortunately have to listen to me fangirling over this movie pretty hard for almost this entire time.
One word for Bearclaw, cinema.
Cinema. I'm a huge Clive Barker fan. I really like what he kind of does, along with like what Neil Gaiman does, where they take classic literature and they take kind of esoteric belief systems and they incorporate it into their work. It makes it so much richer than, your traditional slasher movie, and you see a lot of the characters being really well developed and being three-dimensional characters. You got Julia, who clearly is in a marriage that really doesn't work for her, but at the same time, she has the excitement of Frank, and Frank, who is just this absolute lunatic who cannot be satiated. Nothing will ever satiate his needs, and he is always just looking for that next thing and nothing will ever fill the void that he's trying to fill. But even when he sleeps with his brother's bride-to-be the night before they're married, like even at the end of it, he's just like, okay, I'm done with this. This was like exciting for a second, but now it's over. And just seeing the lengths that he goes to, and just the role of the Cenobites in this, and how they're willing to make a deal, and it's just really cool. And all of the visuals and makeup effects, especially of Frank coming back, of what needs to happen to bring him back. And, just the imagery, especially of that piece of wood that's just spinning with all kinds of nails and spikes and stuff hanging out of it. I mean, you just put all that together with a really well put together story. I haven't read the Telltale or the Heart book. This book, it seems like this is a book, because you kind of get insights into what the characters are thinking, which is really hard to do in a movie. but Clive Barker does it really well, and really giving like internal motivation. You kind of see Larry's kind of just, hey, you know, I've got this really good looking, beautiful British wife, and I'm just trying to, you know, move back into my old house, and, you know, I'm going to watch some boxing, and, you know, and then you've got Julia, who is really one of the more evil characters throughout the whole thing, not necessarily because of what she's doing to Larry, but because she's literally involved in a demonic plot where she's murdering people to bring back her ex-lover Frank, who's also Larry's brother. So, I mean, I got a lot to say about this movie, and I'm sure I'll say a lot during this whole time, but that's where I'll open it up is just really love this movie and love the doors that it opens.
You know what? Before we get to Logan, I hadn't seen this movie in about 20 years.
20 years. You are so old.
I caught I caught a little bit of it like a few years back on maybe Sci-Fi or one of those channels.
Oh, yeah.
But it was never a movie that I really gravitated towards. You know, it wasn't in my like go-tos of going through back and forth a little bit. But in saying that, it was cool to actually watch this movie again and give it another chance and watch through. I like, you know, some of the things,
like a kid again.
well, some of the things you talk about, it was like a nostalgia moment too.
Yeah.
Because Pinhead was terrifying when I was a little kid, and
Yep.
it is one of the first images I ever had of horror was sneaking, and my cousin was watching these movies with his friends, and I was super young, but I remember that image of Pinhead on the screen.
There was like this tabooness to Pinhead and Hellraiser that I feel like the Freddys, the Jasons, and the Michael Myers, at least from my perspective, like Pinhead, like Hellraiser, because Hellraiser was like a taboo thing. Like, oh man, like that movie's like serious. Like that's like an adult horror movie. Like in terms of the themes and like the violence and completely different from like your Jason, like campy, fun horror movies.
Yeah, and like one of the things that I think is central to this movie and the horror of this movie is that the thing that drives the horror or the terror of this movie are the choices that the character makes. And it's not necessarily, with the exception of maybe Kirsty and Larry, that it's kind of thrust upon them. But, you know, Frank made the choice. And, you know, it's them making the choice to go in the terrible directions. And, you know, they have alternatives that they can do. But the fact that they're damned, you know, that they've damned themselves even, is what I think really drives the major theme of this movie is kind of self-damnation. And that makes it all the more visceral to me, I guess would be the right word. Because, you know, in Laurie Strode, Michael Myers, it's thrust upon her. She didn't have the choice to deal with him or the choice to deal with the situations she was faced with, which was part of the terror of that movie. But in this one, they are opening the door, and it kind of is, it talks to that deeper, like esoteric relationship to sin and destruction and self-destruction of, you kind of got to do it yourself. And
Right.
the Cenobites don't just show up, they're called.
I think another thing too, a big difference between Hellraiser and the other franchises is this movie is primarily attacking adults versus teenagers. And, you know, it is more adult themes with the relationships,
infidelity, and
so it is different for sure. And obviously it deals with different realm and in hell and in Satan and satanic stuff. So it is more serious tone too, a little bit. Not that the other movies aren't serious tone, but there's less campiness and fun in that sense. But let me tell you, the Cenobites are so fucking cool that
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I just remember, you know, we talk about nostalgia, and one of the things I always remember too, besides the video store, was always, before I had seen the movie, I had gone into Spencer's Gifts, which those of us who were in a mall around the, you know, 1990s.
Spencer's Gift's still going.
It is really.
It is. Yeah.
But there was all like the figures of the Cenobites I remember seeing, and I mean that like even sparked my interest of like, you know, those little figures, like these, they weren't like an action figure like a G.I. Joe or anything that I had seen before. They were like these twisted, you know, crazy creatures, and that was just, it just really leaves an imprint on you.
I think this movie for me is kind of like the Lament Configuration a little bit. Like, I think once it opens up and you watch it, it's kind of what you make of it a little bit, and like your own horrors kind of putting into it. I had a great time watching it. I thought it was really good. My biggest thing is I wanted more.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted more Cenobites.
Only 8 minutes of Doug Bradley and that
Yeah.
4 to 6 hours of makeup. Again, going back to like Robert Englund, I think we covered the same thing.
Yeah.
Like he was only in the movie for like 10 minutes tops. Same thing with Doug Bradley here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like we only get him for 8 minutes, but he makes every minute count.
For sure. Now I want to get Logan's opinion because this is your first time watching Hellraiser, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. What's your overall thoughts?
BDSM Casper. Like, if you think about it, Julia is the mean blonde woman in Casper.
Oh my goodness. You're talking about the 1995
Sybil-
movie
Sybil
with
But
Shepherd?
live action?
Sybil
The live
Shepherd.
action
Yeah.
Casper?
Sybil
Yeah.
Shepherd?
Yeah.
With our boy Devin Sawa.
Yeah.
Yep. All the Cenobites
And the
are
Halloween
are
queen,
the
Kirsty
brothers
Ricci.
in Casper. So,
Okay, interesting parallel.
And
What's
then,
Casper? Who's Casper the Ghost?
Casper the Ghost is Pinhead.
Pinhead? Okay.
Probably.
I was going to say
Okay.
Frank.
Frank? Yeah, Frank.
Maybe Frank. And then the girl is a girl in
Christina
Casper.
Ricci.
Yeah.
Christina Ricci?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Did she make out with the Cenobites?
Oh,
So
yeah.
Didn't they make out
It
with
was
Casper?
pretty close, though.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Close.
They had some plans for her.
Can I keep you?
Don't waste those tears on all that good suffering.
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Oh, man.
Yeah, this was a process. God.
Well, let me tell you, Logan, you like Sandman and stuff like that. You didn't see like echoes of some of that kind of stuff in this,
No.
like some of that like mythology.
Okay, I'm gonna
and-
say this though. What I like about Sandman isn't all the BDSM shit about Sandman, because I'm telling you, like, that show is like, it is like the first day of Pride Month, but it is definitely for like a specific audience of people that are really like into that sort of thing. And I'm like, whoa. But like, the reason I like the Sandman is because of Dream. Like, his character is the only reason I really watched the show. So like, everything else in that show is a little bit too much. It's too much for me, brother.
I feel like more of the lore though is explored in the second one. Like
That's
the
true.
second one provides you so much more backstory. I feel like it would be like, from Logan's perspective, seeing the first one without seeing the second one to really be able to grapple, I guess, with.
Cause I was kind of lost.
Yeah.
Like, there was like a full hour of just like Frank and Julia doing their own shit, and then these guys show up in like the last 5 minutes, and it's like, oh, now we're gonna take your soul, and then she's like, oh, I'll make a deal with you, like his for mine, and it's like, oh, okay. And then I was like, this doesn't make any sense, because why would they agree to that? They'll just take him and take you too, and then they did it, and I was like, okay, great. That was like a spent 30 minutes for no
It's
reason.
like a
I mean,
Faustian deal, you know? It
Yeah.
doesn't-
It
Well,
bought
it felt
Kirsten
like there
more
was-
time too.
Yeah.
It felt like there was no like, I just felt like there was no point to watch it at that point, where I was like, I don't care about any of these characters as much. Like, I care about her, but then at the same time, it's like they haven't spent enough time on her character to the point where I'm like
That
actually
is a good
caring
point.
about her.
That is a good point.
She's not a good final girl if the full movie is spent on Frank and like Julia. I feel like the other characters are kind of just like castaways compared to
Let
those
me
two.
let me ask you this. Bearclaw made this point about the terrifying nature of it being that it's these folks and the choices they make. I kind of think that while I could see that, I also see it kind of like, well, I kind of don't care. Like you made these stupid choices. Like why? Like to your point, like it makes no sense. Like why they're choosing to do all of this stuff. In a way.
I feel like there's no point to any character. Like, everyone's just so like despicable to the point where it's like you're only rooting for the semi-good person because everyone else is just such pieces
Yeah,
of shit.
Well, like Larry's not like a piece of shit though.
He's tough to root for.
Yes,
Right.
he is when he pushed her off because he's like, I don't understand you. It's like,
Well, that's like human nature.
Yeah.
But like,
Larry's very delusional.
also,
Yeah.
can I just talk about the blood? Clean your shit up. Why are you dripping blood all over the damn
Oh,
house?
Larry.
Well, he was scared of blood.
You know me and blood.
I'm gonna faint.
You're not going to faint.
Yeah.
My hands.
I just think for Larry's character, he's a tough character to root for because
he's such a weakling.
He's so hapless.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and to Logan's point with Kirsty, like, she's the one we're supposed to root for, and we are.
Yeah.
But like, he has a good point. They should have maybe put a little bit more effort into like her character a little bit and given it a little bit more there. But you're not wrong. Like, a lot of these characters are not good people.
Well, I mean, the
Yeah.
characters aren't good. I will say there's some good to this movie. Like the effects are great.
Yep.
The music is
Yes.
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Oh,
It is
yeah.
so good. Like, I was just like, if the music wasn't there, I don't think I'd be there. Like, I don't think I would be as in tune with the movie. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's so good. You know, the plot itself is murky at times, but it does somewhat make sense. Like, at least in the beginning of the movie, where it's like, okay, this kind of makes sense. And then it gets a little murky towards the end, because I think they didn't really have like a ending that, like, I don't think they could have figured out a easier ending with the kind of shit they kind of put into the movie. It's like, well, I think they kind of put themselves in a little bit of a
Like a box.
yeah.
And we'll, and we'll get
Like a
and we'll
Lament
get more to
Configuration.
the ending because I want to get everyone's take on it. But I kind of agree too. I think the ending, it's a little like all.
I just
over
feel like the
place.
pacing is really weird.
Yeah,
The pacing is off, and there's certain points in this movie where I'm like, where the hell did we just go from? We went from like, oh, bumming around the house, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna kill people all of a sudden, like, because I love you, and it's like, oh, Jesus. And then we get these flashbacks. It's just, it's so much at one point where it's like, what the hell is going on in this movie? Like, we're just like
Yeah, well,
bumbling around.
I don't know. I saw it as very carefully executed. I agree that the end, they kind of move forward fast in the end because you can't make a 4-hour movie.
Well, there's some cuts where I'm like, what the hell is going on? Because she's in the bathroom, right? And she's like washing her shirt or something. And then she's
Washing
like,
off the blood.
yeah, Kirsty's in the bathroom, like doing something. And then she like walks in and she's like, Julia, where are you? And then you just look up and she's right above her. It's like,
See, to me, that's
Okay.
like, that's like creepy. That's like Julia's.
it's
like,
creepy, but like we haven't even gotten to
like lurking, like a
like,
predator.
I don't know what the hell's her problem. And then she goes into this room and starts having like, like just
She's struggling.
she's struggling.
She just killed a man.
She's
No.
struggling with
This
stuff.
is before she kills. This is when
Oh.
she's reminiscing.
She's
feeling
struggling
Frank's,
because she's-
presence.
She loves Frank. Like
Obsessed.
she is like
He's like
obsessed
Billy in,
with Frank,
Candyman.
and like she can't love Larry fully because she loves Frank fully.
Well, I would too.
I mean,
if
she's like so in love with Frank that it's just like she might even be with Larry on the off chance that Frank is still around. Because keep in mind, Frank rejected her at the end of their little liaison there. She doesn't look like a woman who's used to being rejected, and that probably really, I don't know, kind of
how her and Larry got back together.
it may have
Well,
been just in the
I don't
hope
think
that-
she ever told Larry.
Yeah,
No, they were trying to rebuild their marriage, right? Or that's
I
like-
don't think Larry ever knew that.
I just think they have like a marriage that's on the rocks.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So I thought they were like
Yeah,
getting
like
back
maybe that
together.
affair new like tidbit would like be the straw.
Well,
that breaks the
clearly, I don't
dam
think he
kinda
knew
thing.
about the affair because obviously, I don't think he would move into the house as the.
I don't know, though.
He was looking for Frank, like he was like. I don't think he would look for your brother like that if you knew that he did that. Frank did what he
Unless
did.
you had a gun.
Yeah, Frank, come
Also,
out.
there's
It'll all
some
be
pictures.
okay. Click, click.
Larry is a bit of a simp, though.
Yeah,
So I don't.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he would be into that. Who knows?
I felt like Larry, though, the big thing about Larry that I did like was he was a good dad. He did try with his
Yeah.
daughter.
Yeah, for
that
sure.
was like the one good thing I did like about him,
And-
that he wasn't a complete asshole. To
And he
her.
was trying in his marriage too, right? Because over that Chinese dinner,
Eh.
well, over that Chinese dinner with Kirsty, he was saying like, "Hey, I don't know if I can make it work with Julia."
Would you stop by sometime? Try to make friends?
Sure.
I mean, who knows? Maybe all she needs is somebody to talk to.
I find Frank to be a sympathetic character just in that, he's trying to do the right thing. He's not good at it by any stretch, but I mean, he doesn't, see satanic puzzle box coming out from the woodwork. He's maybe naive to a certain
Right.
degree, I think. And even in his marriage, I think he's naive, but like, I don't know, just the fact that Julia is like this femme fatale and she's like really driving the things forward to feed Frank, who like Frank manages to reconstitute himself from a hellish prison. Like, how cool is that? Like, across time and dimensions, you know, but he's ultimately just using her because he doesn't care about anybody or anything.
Right. This gets me into a big question to start us off here.
Sure.
Are the Cenobites the villains of the movie?
I don't think they were good I don't think they were
They're
well
passive.
built enough to be villains. Like, they weren't the main antagonists of this movie. That was Frank. Frank was the
Frank
true
was the
asshole.
villain, yeah.
And Julia, you got
And
Yeah,
Julia,
yeah,
yeah.
They were like the bad guys in Casper. They was literally Casper.
Which one was Eric Idle? Remember, he's like, I'm gonna buy a house with big purple drapes, and
that would be Frank.
That would be Frank. I mean,
Frank.
it's like the crazy couple. The crazy couple are the bad guys in this movie, and the Cenobites are kind of like
They're just doing their
they're
thing.
just doing their business.
they're doing what they're always doing.
Yeah,
but
they're-
that's what makes them such cool villains, if you ask me. Is
They're
like
not really villain.
well, they're not like the specific antagonist,
there.
but they're like, listen, you called, we're coming. Like,
They're like the rule makers. They're not doing anything past their nature. They're doing what is in their nature. They torture. That's their thing. It's not like Frank. He's being selfish, and he's also doing it for like his own personal like thing. They're just doing it because, you know, it's their, at least how I know, because like I've only seen this one movie. Like, they're just doing it to just do it. Like, you know, it's just business. It's not personal. if
business.
we tear your body apart.
Dan, do you think they're the villains, or do you think they're just like different sort of villains?
I think they're like this passive entity.
yeah.
Bearclaw has said it's like there has to be this choice involved in order for them to be summoned.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, how can they be bad guys if you're the one that has to, like,
Yeah.
channel them?
You have to make the choice. You have to perform the ritual.
Right. I think too in this movie, Julia and Frank are really the antagonists, right?
Yeah.
They're the main
Yeah.
villains. But the Cenobites are like kind of the big villains. Like
Again,
yeah.
I don't see that. Like, this
they're
movie,
just doing their thing.
they're just there. Like, it doesn't feel like they're big enough in this movie. Like, I'm pretty sure in the next couple movies, they're probably bigger parts, but like, they barely get into like what they actually are. They kind of like, they talk about it and then they show up, but like, they're not like a big foil. Like, they're not like talked about the entirety of the movie. Like, to the entirety of the movie, it's Frank doing his own thing and Julia helping him. Like, that's the antagonist.
Did you guys like the setting of where this movie was? Because it's primarily all in one house.
And primarily in the attic, too. I thought
Primarily
that
in
was
the
so creepy.
streets of dirty.
And just like those
New
shots
York.
and just like those shots of like Chucky in the background, like when you see Frank in the background, like just kind of like doing a bad job of hiding, and like the guys are too oblivious, or the guys that are going after Julia are like, oh hey, this is a weird room, I don't know that we should be in here doing this doesn't seem sanitary.
This isn't the bedroom.
No.
Like Dan said too, this British, right? This house is very British.
Well,
no?
that's what I think is funny about this movie is like when it I think it got sent to like get the final review or whatever, like they didn't like the fact that it was a British movie, and they made them change the setting to an American setting, and they actually made some of the actors, had voice actors voice over the British accents in the movie.
Oh, is that why Frank is all
Frank
ADR?
sounds so weird, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice.
But I kind of
that.
like that he sounded weird too, though. 'cause
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm Brother Frank.
Kirsty, it's Frank. It's Uncle Frank.
No.
You remember?
Brother Frank, come to daddy.
You know, I
But
got.
could you imagine like these characters in a Cockney accent, like saying
Oh,
some
hey,
of these
everyone,
things?
come to daddy. Lover.
Come,
Oh,
Papa.
yeah.
Hey, Julia, come here. I love you. Don't say that to me. I'm gonna kill you. I love. God, the best scene in this movie that is the scene where he's in the closet when they're doing it, and he comes out and he's like, holding the knife, and she's like, God, no, no, and he's still continuing to do it. I'm like, what is wrong with you, Larry?
I mean, that was such a cool scene because he's like skinning the rat at the edge of the bed.
I don't like that.
And Julia's like, no, not. I think that was more of like Julia didn't want to like get him on her. Like,
I don't think he wanted him to kill him. She didn't want him to kill him.
How does Larry not hear her saying no and just keep fucking going?
I was thinking, how does he not like feel somebody in, like, he's right there at the end of the bed. I mean, listen, we've all been into being with a girl, right?
Well,
but
this is a hallmark of a man who has not been with his wife in about 3 years.
Yeah.
It's like he's been like waiting for this moment.
shaking.
That may have been the first time for him.
What if
Larry.
Frank wasn't real? He's just a figment of the box's imagination.
Maybe he's Julia's imagination.
Well, we know Kirsty sees him, but
Yeah.
maybe that was just the box
So
being
who
there.
stabs Julia and sucks the life out of her then?
The box.
Larry.
Well, it was Larry.
It looks a lot
it
like
is
Larry.
Maybe
but...
it was just Larry, and everyone just thinks it's Frank.
I'm going to get straight to my favorite scene of the movie. And what I think is the coolest scene in this movie is when Frank reincarnates
Oh, yeah.
from the drops of blood, man. This reminded me of
That's
the
wild.
Thing, no?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When the two like limbs like pop out of the floor and like come out to the side, and it's like him pulling himself out of the floorboard.
Was that like a miniature model thing that they did? Did
It
anybody
looked
look-
like claymation kind of looking thing.
I
Yeah.
think they shot it backwards, right? Like, so you get those, how it looks.
I get you.
How
I get what
cool.
you're saying. So like, the reverse of it, like
Yeah.
it was a fully
And
formed
his
thing, and they
Body
melted it out.
sticks the backbone into the brain and like pull it like that was so cool. And like the blood, like you could see the blood soaking into the floorboards, and like all of a sudden the heart starts beating. Like, oh, how cool is that?
Like Logan was saying too, when Larry comes in there and he's got like that blood just dripping everywhere, man. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's just like hitting the floorboards. I like, how the music kind of hits with
Yeah.
it, and it's very eerie. Like something's gonna happen here.
Yeah.
And it's not Larry passing out. Although if he was gonna pass out, how the hell did he make it all the way up to the end?
Oh, yeah.
Dripping blood.
And that's one of the things that I like about the Cenobites. And I keep going back to this esoteric roots, because if you look at a lot of like older religions and things of that nature, a lot of things in today's world are conceptualized in melodrama, and that there's a good guy and a bad guy. But, you guys mentioned that the Cenobites are kind of passive. Well, the Cenobites aren't really good or evil, so to speak. They're more ambiguous than that. They're more, angels to some, demons to others.
Demons to some, angels to others.
That kind of speaks to the more esoteric roots of the movie, in that they're not clear-cut good or bad, or, it's more of they are what they are. They have rules they have to live by. A lot of older magic systems are based on rule sets, and like even when we're talking about like The Exorcist, like Pazuzu, he's this archdemon in that, but if you look at some of the older things, he was like a protector of infants and things of that nature, and
Right.
he was used as like a way to keep the Lilith away, or I'm pronouncing it wrong, but the demons that cause miscarriages. Pazuzu was supposed to be the wind that blows them away, but it goes back to that esoteric, and that's what I really like about a lot of Clive Barker's stuff, is he draws on a lot of that stuff to bring the metaphysical aspects of that into the movie. And that's one of the cool things that I like about the Cenobites, is they're not that like clearly evil, tying up the woman and putting her on the train tracks kind of evil,
Logan, did you like this scene where the effects were kind of taking shape in front of us?
Yeah, this entire movie was just effects, basically. Like, it was really good.
It was very body horror, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Very substance-esque.
Yeah.
And like when you saw Frank's face, like first when he was like the decaying corpse, and then like you saw him become, you see him become the muscle, like the muscle grow over his face.
I didn't like that.
And
She
it
was
great.
like Indy in the first Raiders of the Lost Ark, where he's
was
like,
like a reverse-
don't look.
It was like a reverse melting. If they
Yeah.
when the Nazis in that movie, if they like came back together, that would be Frank.
Yeah.
This is some really good special effects, which really draws you in right away. And it's kind of creepy too, seeing him crawl on the ground.
Oh yeah.
Those scenes.
Yeah, you know what else is an interesting or cool thing about the Frank character too, is it 3 actors play Frank. They have an actor who's thinner who plays the skinless Frank, and then they have young Frank who met, what's her name there? Julia. And then obviously the guy who plays Larry as final form Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is cool.
And how creepy was it when he couldn't walk and he crawls up to that body and like sticks his finger in?
I like how Frank's like a Pokemon. He's got many forms.
He's got many forms.
Julia choosed him.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is the concept, right? Julia has to bring people.
He needs blood.
So Frank can basically suck the blood out of them.
Like the life essence, kind
He's
of.
like a scourge lord.
Yeah, he is like a scourge lord.
What'd you think of Julia Logan? If you saw Julia at the restaurant there, are you going with her back to her house? What do you think? You said she's attractive, right?
I mean, no, I'd probably. Never mind. I'm not gonna say that.
Aw, you ditch her? Poor Julia.
No, I wouldn't ditch her necessarily. I just wouldn't go home with her.
You don't get involved with a woman who has a MacGyver haircut like that.
I was gonna
She's
say
bound.
she did have a MacGyver.
Okay, I was saying before she had the flock of seagulls hair. Yes.
You liked her before. Did you guys think she was attractive?
I'll put it like this. I think that
If a woman went up to me, I think
no. It's not that. It's
Something's weird here.
yeah. Well, you gotta think
Why
like
is she coming up to me?
Well, I think it's a lot of like lonely guys that were probably in like some hotel. They were probably on some business conference or something like that. And all of a sudden there's this woman who's like, you know, I bet a fair amount of them thought she was probably a prostitute. And we're just like, all right, what's this gonna cost?
That's why I wouldn't go back with her. I would just like have a good night.
I don't know. She seemed to be like attracting men pretty easily. Like, and then too earlier we have the mover who's like,
My lucky day.
He was all about
oh
that.
my god,
Yeah.
right in front of Larry.
The
Yeah.
best.
Larry liked it.
Like, oh, you can cut this out if you want, but like, I'm just
Leave
saying,
it in.
I wouldn't go back with her. I'd probably like, you know, let's move this to like the alley or something.
Oh dang!
I didn't want to say it,
She's not
but
that type of woman.
The tables have turned
I'm not
here.
saying we're gonna
prey
go
has
full
become the
gaga, but I'm saying like, you know, we could
I'm sure she wasn't aiming for the, you know, the top of the barrel either. She was probably looking for a warm body. Who
I'm not
is,
saying we're
you know,
gonna
like a
go all
fly,
the way.
like a fly trap kind of thing. You know?
These men,
Spider cut herself a fly.
Yeah, exactly.
go stage one.
these men too, all kind of look the same. They're all like middle aged, balding.
Yeah,
Sort of
Dude,
like
exactly.
one guy had a bald ass head. He was covering with like a little bit of hair.
Tidy whiteys going.
I mean, I think, you know, she's not recruiting top talent here.
Well,
She needs-
I don't
she
know.
Needs blood on the. She
That
needs blood
first
on the
guy got
floor.
hit with the hammer. It took him 3 swings to actually like kill him.
Yeah.
Which I think demonstrates that these men were not 40, they're actually 25.
Yeah,
It's just
We're older than them.
they're
the
80s,
camera. The
25.
camera made them look a couple. The camera adds 20 years.
Thinking about it too, like, wait, we're not going to the bedroom? No, let's go to this
No,
dark
let's go to the attic.
room.
With no,
There's
you're okay with no bed.
furniture. It's stripped to the.
You don't need a
frame.
bed, do you?
We don't need a bed, do we?
No.
Like,
Guess
I like
not.
it on the floor. It's like this hardwood fucking.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah. I would-
Don't mind the blood and cum stains all over the place.
yeah, or the Evil Dead zombie over there. Like, don't
Yeah,
mind him.
he likes to watch.
He likes to watch. This is it's a weird thing I'm into.
Yeah, I don't know. These scenes were. See, I think they did a little too many of these. Like, we could have got the idea. I'm just trying to get more Cenobites in here because that's what I want.
Yeah.
Well, too bad.
I feel like too much of the Cenobites though. It's hard for me to comment on this because I know that they do a lot more in the second movie. I think this is more of a teaser for the Cenobites than anything else.
I don't
you
like
know.
people teasing me out. I know.
Do
I
you-
like the full.
Maybe Clive Barker or whoever understood, like, maybe during this, like, wait a minute, the Cenobites are really our bread and butter.
Well, if you think about it, a lot of the
Put a lot of
horror,
effort
a lot of
into
the
that
first horror movies don't show a lot of the main horror
Yeah.
villain. You know, we
Right.
talked
No.
about Freddy, we talk about Jason. I've seen 2 Jason movies. I still haven't seen Jason.
And you never will, Bearclaw, until we see Jason
so-
takes Manhattan.
So I mean, like, it's just one of those things where you don't see the horror or like that. That aspect of it is kind of kept, and that's kind of par for the course for early horror movies.
Well,
Well,
you've
not-
missed out on Leprechaun and my favorite horror movie of all time.
What is it?
Better watch it.
Oh, God.
We get all of that, kid. Do you want? Okay, now here's the question.
Talk about somebody who'd definitely be
You can
open up the
either
Lament
get
Configuration.
all of the Cenobites or that kid for a full like.
Can we get the Cenobites to take that kid?
Yeah, I think so. I think you could probably work
He would
that
definitely
out.
open that box
For sure.
He would definitely. He's a party animal.
So what ends up happening is, we already kind of mentioned it. Larry talks to Kirsty and is basically like, hey, try with Julia, you know?
Yeah, try and hey, Larry's trying to be a good dude. He's
I feel
like, try
like-
and connect with her. She's lonely, you
I
know?
feel like she was going to do that. Like, she didn't have any hesitation towards it. She was just like simply like, oh, okay. Usually, like in kind of movies like that, they usually go like, I don't know about that. I don't think we have much to talk about. And then they'd be like, please, for me. And she would be like, oh, okay.
So you're upset that didn't happen?
I'm upset that she kind of just like didn't give out about it. It's like, his daughter doesn't feel like she needs somebody to tell you. I think she would do that either way. She didn't feel like she had too much
She's
like
a good person.
She didn't feel like she had too much like angst against her. Like, I think she actually liked Julia, but Julia didn't like hers.
I kind of see that, but I think it's more like Kirsten was more willing to try to make things work, whereas
Yeah.
Julia is just
Yeah, that's what I'm
Nudie.
saying. Like, she just doesn't care about her.
Well, Julie doesn't care about anybody but Frank. Maybe a little bit about Larry, but
They were willing to give it a shot at the end where they're like, well, come with us. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. You've been an asshole this entire time.
So we got Kirsty, who oversees Julia, bringing dudes home.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Slays.
Decides to go in. And then this was one of the creepier moments, too, when the guy comes out of the attic room.
Yeah.
like a
Help me.
California raisin.
yeah.
yeah. Like the light sucked out of him.
Yeah, that was awesome. They put him in that room, and how cool was it later with a callback to that when she put him in that room, and then Kirsty was running from the Cenobites, and then he falls down like all full of maggots and stuff. That was pretty cool callback.
And then we get kind of the reveal that Frank is back.
Come to daddy.
Come to daddy.
Yeah. Which he was kind of creepy, right, Log, with the...
Yeah, and Frank was all about any type of depravity that could be had. Frank was 100% on board with. I mean, he was 100% on board with opening the strange cube given to him, you know. He wanted to find the bottom of the barrel of depravity.
Thought I'd gone to the limits. I hadn't. The Cenobites gave me an experience beyond the limits.
He seemed like a desperate kind of guy when it came to anything. He seemed like he gave into his desires a lot more than anybody else I've ever seen. But that's like, he's the asshole kind of like guy in all the like movies and shows. Like, he's the guy that doesn't really think before he does. He's kind of just like takes what he wants. Like,
That's what I think is so fascinating about Frank as a villain character is he has this hole that he will fill at any cost. He doesn't care what the cost is. He doesn't. He's a psychopath. He's like a serial killer. He doesn't have any like empathy. He is just, he needs to fill that whatever desire. And I mean, that's what makes him the perfect kind of person to open the Lament Configuration and see the Cenobites and to accept their offer.
Do you think Frank and Larry's parents were like fundamentally religious?
I don't know. There was a lot of religious stuff in there, and there was a kind of a throwaway line that where Larry talks about like, oh, there's religious stuff, but I don't know. I think Frank was probably religious. Because Frank quotes the Bible. Frank had a lot of esoteric writings and stuff on the wall. I see him as being very religious.
I don't think he's
but not
religious. I feel like he's cult.
not in a Western religious kind of tradition,
Some
or maybe in a
satanic
Western
shit.
religious kind of tradition, because a lot of Christianity involves a lot of suffering, a lot of, you know, maybe Frank was seeking forgiveness, or maybe not even forgiveness, but was seeking some type of higher plane or some type of new ecstasy. And maybe at one time he was religious and sought that through religion, but then that didn't scratch the itch, because he's always got this itch that he cannot scratch.
Well, there goes our Christian viewers.
I think of like towards the end, and you mentioned like the religious, like quoting like the Bible or whatnot. At the end, he's got his face all like pulled apart and stuff, and he's like, and Jesus wept.
Jesus wept.
Yeah.
And it almost makes me think that like he does this stuff to like out of spite of the religion.
Yeah, you could argue that maybe
that's where I was
maybe
leading
the
with
parents like put
kind
a bunch of
yeah.
religious stuff on him, and maybe like, you know, tied down his sexual desires or something like that, and then that led to him wanting to, go against that, him being kind of a very to use Game of Thrones terms, like Euron Greyjoy, kind of throwing everything in the face of religion and saying I'm above this, or I'm going to be part of it. But I mean, even in Christianity, you've got a lot of like self-flagellation. You've got a lot of like penitence for doing
Sinning,
for sinning. So he may have been very conflicted in that kind of way. And what do you do when you're conflicted in that kind of way? You seek out angels to help you out.
Arts.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't just a passive, like, oh, I happen to find this box. I mean, you saw, like, when you look at his bedding and where he was sleeping and stuff, there was the scripture on the wall, not necessarily Christian scripture, but all Sanskrit and all this other kind of stuff. He was seeking out forbidden knowledge. He wanted that which you could not attain on this plane, and he found it. And that also ties back to, and one of the reasons I like this is it ties back to H.P. Lovecraft's kind of the seeking of forbidden knowledge, the Necronomicon. Like, maybe you don't want the answers that you think that you want. Maybe sometimes not knowing is a blessing. And when you go further than you should, there's a price to that. And that's where Frank pays the price, because he gets torn to shreds.
For sure. And this gets us into like the third act here, guns blazing a little bit, because Kirsty gets the box, throws it out the window, ends up passing out on the street. And this was like,
yo, are you okay?
Ayahuasca hit.
Yeah.
It's like, what happened?
And then Coolio showed up.
Yo, is that Coolio? And so then she ends up in the hospital, and referencing what Dan said earlier about kind of the Freddy Krueger parallels, this felt very Freddy Krueger.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
dream
the hospital
sequence.
scene.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things. Dan and I were watching this movie together, and one of the things that I always wondered was she actually in, and I think you could probably say she was, because the boyfriend shows up later in the movie, but and goes there, but was she actually in this psych ward, or was this some type of
Fever dream
machination kind of thing, or something like that? I mean, I don't know, because the doctor, like, just putting the cube right on her thing and like being like, oh, maybe this will jog your memory, like,
Right.
Was that a real doctor, or was that some type of hellspawn?
It would have been a
kinda?
perfect thing for the mask to come down and be Pinhead.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Freddy Krueger thing. And then, like you said, this is very dream sequence. The wall opens up.
That was cool.
Yeah, and then she's walking down. This stuff always freaks me out. And then, of course, the engineer, this big monster coming out.
On a cart.
Crawling down through the thing. I mean, I thought the engineer was terrifying, because he's just like this monstrous entity.
It's just so jarring because it's not anything you would expect.
No.
It's
Yeah, it is kind of jarring. I think that's the point, but
it works.
So then she's like with the Lament Configuration, and she puts it down and opens up another side of it. And this opens up so the Cenobites come.
You opened it. We came.
yeah,
And
you see the flower that like is blooming, and like
that's even
how
awesome.
cool, and like just the sound. You guys mentioned the sound, and like one of the things that always strikes me too is when the tiles go into that like negative.
That was that's like one of my favorite
that's
things. Yeah.
And the blood comes out of the blood bag, and like,
I mean, did any of that scene strike you, like that like waveform music kind of playing in the background, Logan? Did any of that like strike you as like scary, or were you just bored to tears by then?
It was in between for me. Like, I don't think I was into it as much. I think by that time I was pretty checked out of this movie, and I think like I was still into it, but like it was, I don't know, I was indifferent to it.
I mean, this is like one of the coolest scenes too, because you really have the introduction. Earlier at the very beginning, we get a brief glimpse into the Cenobites, and what they do and their world. And
I just feel like it was too late into the movie, where it was like, I've already been pretty well caught up with all this other shit, so throwing this in is just like throwing gasoline into the fire, like trying to make it explode. Like, it's just, it doesn't work for me. Like, I'm just not into like them fully like adding shit in. Like, it's cool, like effects wise, but like story, plot, and pacing wise, it's a lot.
I thought would have worked better is if, and I know a couple of times Frank had mentioned, we got to get this done so we can get away from them. Like,
he was scared of them the whole time.
I think I'm gonna say this. I don't think Frank should have been in this movie. If the entire movie was just based on the Cenobites like being the actual villains of this movie, it would have worked for me a little bit more. Cause I feel like they were trying too much with like Frank and like his motivations and all his shit. The Cenobites felt like second. They felt like they were behind him because I didn't care about them as much.
Okay, so this is what I was gonna say. This would kind of fix this part a little bit for me, is if they had more in the movie, made it like they're coming, like I've escaped. This in my mind would make sense. Like
a scene where they come out and they're like, "Where is he?"
No, like a scene where they're just like, "What happened?" Blah blah blah, or like whatever. But then it takes away from when they show up in the hospital, because this is such a cool scene of the real introduction, and they're introducing themselves, and
early on, then
you summoned us and everything like that.
You called, we came.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they could have.
I thought it was perfection, but I don't know, because it introduces them as a malevolent force behind things. Frank is the malevolent force, but like they're there. And what I think is so cool about them being introduced at that point is, like, there was no way that Kirsty was going to realistically overpower Frank and Julia. I mean, they're lunatic psychopaths, right? The Cenobites come in and they're not a force for good, but they're a tool that Kirsty can use to get Frank back, kind of using horror to fight horror. I don't know. I just thought it's a very exciting notion to me of like, okay, Frank, you come back from this dead. You're using like your powers of being a psychopath and from hell. And okay, you're going to do this. Well, then, I'm going to bring your jailers back. And then he says, I want to hear him confess.
I want to hear him confess himself.
The lines the Cenobites give just really like make goosebumps come up on me, because it's like, we're going to get him. And yeah, they were going to get Kirsty too. I mean, they're not like good people, but it's like, what else are you going to do? You're going to call the cops on Frank? Oh, okay. That'll work out.
They were menacing. I liked too that they weren't necessarily like yelling or screaming. They were just...
They're patient and slow, and they're like, we'll get him. We've got all eternity,
If you screw us over, we'll tear your soul apart.
We'll tear your soul apart.
If you need us, we'll tear your soul apart.
And they're willing to make a Faustian deal, and they know they're not going to keep it. They're just like, no, I want to hear him confess. I'm gonna get him, and then we're gonna get you.
I know Pinhead's so freaking cool, but who's your favorite Cenobite of these guys?
Oh,
Logan, you really liked Butterball there, no?
Oh yeah, I didn't know his name, but the guy with the Morpheus glasses and the whole he was cool. He got the drip.
Yeah.
He had all of that.
I agree with Logan there. Butterball was my guy as well. It would have been cool if like they leaned into like exploring the spectrum of pain and pleasure of gluttony. Maybe they make him like, he's fat. Maybe he like stuffs somebody's gullet to the point where their stomach bursts or something.
I like how he didn't talk. That made him even better.
I liked the woman. She's my favorite. And she was actually the makeup artist.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, she was the makeup artist. She did all the makeup for herself and for the Cenobites and stuff. And I liked how she was like bald, but she had like strands of hair, and like her throat was like, her trachea was like opened up and exposed, and like just looking at her hurt, but like you could tell she's like really into it. And whereas Pinhead is kind of like, he very much plays like a priest. Like he's like the main like, well, we're gonna see what happens. She's like the zealot. She's like, no, let's carve her up right now. Like, why do we need her?
Maybe we prefer you.
Yeah, maybe we prefer you. Like, she's the zealot, and he's like the priest. The religious overtones of this, and I'm a little bit of a Hellraiser nerd. Like, there's comic books, there's all this other kind of stuff. They're part of the Order of the Gash, and they're a religious sect from hell, and there's a lot of other bits of this, because as soon as I saw this movie, deep dives into the other stuff.
Quick question in regards to the lore and the Order of the Gash. Does that have anything to do with why they all have like that wound on their torso?
I don't know that there's a specific wound
that, yeah.
that is common, but I mean that might have to do with the initiation ritual. I haven't read deeply into a lot of the comics, but they're all part of a specific religious sect in hell called the Order of the Gash.
Gotcha.
And like eventually Kirsty becomes the priestess of hell in the Order of the Gash. But that's only in the extended EU. But
I liked the chattering Cenobite.
yeah, he was pretty cool.
He creeped me out the
He
most.
looks like an anus.
I didn't like his. Yeah, it's just.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Me at the dentist.
I do want to get to the music too, because the music in this is very, very cool, right?
Awesome.
I mean, it really sets the stage for something that it feels so much bigger than.
I feel like,
yeah.
you know what? I don't think I'm going to watch any of the movies, but it makes me interested to watch the show.
There's a show?
Yeah, there's a show. I think there's going to be a show.
Listen, if you like Cenobites, watch the second one.
Yeah, more
And then,
Cenobites.
and then it's a shame they never made any more of these after the second one. But it's a shame.
I would
feel
have
like
to
there's-
watch a show of this because, like, I feel like this could be like the next like big.
Good news, Logan. There's plenty of Hellraiser content out
I
there.
don't want
for
to
you.
watch a movie.
You know what I would really
wanna
love
sit
to
through
see
more of this.
the difference in Logan's opinion on, because I think he would really like this movie a lot more, is have you watched the Hulu Hellraiser?
No, but I've heard of it.
I've heard good things.
Isn't
about
that
it.
the one
It's
with
not
the woman?
bad. Of those sequels, it's a good one.
Yeah.
It really is pretty good. It gets a little bit more, and this is where I'd be curious to see Logan's take, because this one leaves a lot of mystery, whereas that one it kind of. It gives a lot of rules. It kind of says, well, this needs to happen, and then this needs to happen. And like, there's like this whole, like, it's a little bit, in my opinion, a little bit Marvelized in a way. Cause it's like, it kind of explains the lore. It explains everything. It kind of like, you see the Lament configuration in different configurations, has different meanings and stuff.
Well, now I've just looked it up. There is going to be a television series with David Gordon Green directing several of the episodes.
That could go one of two ways.
But Clive Barker is going to be an executive producer on it.
That might help.
Well, he
it.
should be, because it's his work.
And they have the same writer as Trick or Treat.
Michael Dougherty. Are you sure
Yep.
this is true?
Yep.
Wow. But I mean, back to the music, right? The music's pretty iconic for this. I don't think it's on the same as a lot of the other franchises, and I wonder why that is, because I don't know. Maybe because it's not like, it doesn't feel necessarily horror. I don't know how to explain
me, it feels more like the monster feature track.
Oh,
like,
okay, yeah.
Like almost akin to like when Frankenstein comes to life. Like that's the vibe I get from like the music. Is like it's creature feature music. in my opinion.
yeah.
I like that. I think that works. It works with these characters too.
Oh,
in this
yeah.
movie. The ending. We find out Larry is killed from
Not killed, skinned alive.
skinned alive. Like he basically Frank takes his face. I mean, we never see it.
We see Larry's skinless body.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. So yeah, so he takes his
I
face.
want the man who did this.
We want the man who did this.
Yes, yeah.
That was a cool line.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I wondered in this scene too, like the Cenobites just chill in that room for like they can't
Well,
leave.
Kirsty, one of the things that I noticed in this watch, and I was kind of careful, is Kirsty leaves the box open. They can only cross the bridge, so to speak, or one of the rules that's kind of implied is they can only cross the bridge when the box is open. If the box isn't open, I don't think they got access to this world. That's one of like their rule sets. So if they don't have access to the world, they can't really do anything. I don't think they had a way of finding Frank, and that they needed Kirsty to bring them to. She brought the box back with her.
But they didn't seem like they knew Frank was missing.
I mean, hell's probably pretty big. There's probably a lot going on. It's probably more of the like, you know, I don't know, what would you call it? Like we got to protect our reputation kind of thing, where it's like, oh, well, you know, we can't have people going around talking shit like, oh, yeah, I got away from them. No problem, Bob. You know, like, they're like, I want to hear him confess. They might not have noticed he was gone. You know, it's busy down there.
They lost another one this week.
Yeah, well, it happens. I mean, but you know, you don't want somebody going around going, oh, you know, like didn't some people just escape from like a New Orleans prison? It's like it's not about them escaping. It's about the fact that it makes whatever institution that those people escape from look weak, you know?
Yeah.
It's some gangster.
That makes sense.
You can't have people selling on your turf, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. You think they were afraid they'd lose their jobs?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody's got a boss, man. Everybody's got a boss. And they're like, oh, man, if the big guy hears... if Leviathan hears about this, we're going to be in deep shit. We got to cover this up quick.
Oh, my goodness. Kirsty, too. I was like, look at your dad there. He's got blood.
Yeah,
all over
like
him.
you're not worried about your dad like
No, that
bleeding
looks
out
exactly
of the ear.
like him.
Like that's a
He doesn't realize he's bleeding sometimes, and maybe he cuts himself a little bit too much.
I don't know. Like
Your ear looks like Elio's cheese pizza. I haven't
yeah,
seen
I was gonna say
And that's her dad.
that was probably the only part of this movie I found it hard to believe was like your dad looks like he's been cut in half, and you're just like, oh, Dad, I'm so glad you're okay. Like.
Oh my god.
Not to mention he's talking cool too. Like your dad doesn't talk
This
cool.
isn't my dad.
My dad's a dork. Dad's a geek.
Daddy.
And then poor Julia finally gets her ending.
Good.
She was always gonna get that ending. Frank didn't care about her.
Even
ever.
then, when he made a mistake, he's like,
I don't think
sorry.
he made a mistake. Yeah, I think
No,
was
but
just
like he didn't. He
He's
was
like
aiming
nothing
for
personal.
her.
Nothing personal, babe.
Nothing
It was
personal.
just business.
He
Like
wasn't
you said.
aiming for her. He was aiming for
Kirsty, but like Bearclaw said though, like he don't care. Like
Yeah.
anything else.
even then.
He's gonna let that blood like bleed out. All he needs that blood.
Yeah. Whoa! Don't bleed everywhere.
And
Give
he's
it to
still
me.
bleeding through the shirt. And
Yeah,
everything.
like
ugh.
that's one of the cool things that made the effects feel so visceral. I think is like when he was skinless and in the suit, when he was in the Larry suit, having the collars of the shirts like show like blood
Yeah.
and viscera and like clearly like half-assed kind of like throwing things on and like not really. Frank's not a details guy. He's just kind of going with the flow.
I like how too, like he was like, I just need, we'll take a little time and then I'll tell the cops something like blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Not even worried. And like that's the other thing. He was like laissez-faire with like the Cenobites. He like almost totally forgot about them by the end. He was like, oh well.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think at a certain point, I mean, I think he always knew his goose was cooked. Like I said, he's not really a forward-thinking kind of individual. He's more of an in-the-moment kind of sort.
Yeah, and then Frank admits that he's Frank and not Larry, and that's when the Cenobites show up and fuck his world up.
Yeah, really the chains with the hooks on the end of them really is quite grisly, and I really think
brings
that's
the room together.
Yeah,
Man, it really tied the room together.
or takes Frank apart. You know.
This was a cool scene, man.
Oh yeah, in
it's
the
an
end.
iconic horror scene.
Yeah.
On the hooks.
Oh yeah.
Jesus wept.
And Jesus wept.
Jesus loved me. This I know.
I wonder if Frank is such a
If he-
narcissist that he thinks himself as like Jesus suffering. Like he thinks himself as like this holy explorer.
I don't think any character has any depth to them whatsoever.
I think that is a bold statement. What makes you say like
'Cause
Julia
the
has
writing in
no
this
depth
movie-
to her?
Yeah, she's a bitch. That's what her depth is. She kills people,
But she's
and
like conflicted and like
she's not conflicted. She went right to
Well,
Frank.
she was conflicted at first, and then
She went right to murdering. You can't say that she had conflictions because she went right
She
to
was
it.
conflicted with Larry in the bed, and you know. And
Well, yeah,
she wasn't like. I mean, she was cold. But
I think
she wasn't
she just
like
likes
stone
people liking
cold.
her. She likes attention.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
This is definitely the ending I wanted more of, where the Cenobites are coming after Kirsty here.
Oh yeah, and they're like, okay, well, thanks for giving us Frank,
Yeah.
but
Now we're gonna take you,
we've
and that's
decided-
what I liked.
We've decided we're gonna take you as
I
well.
like when people make deals
Rules is rules.
and then they
Rules
go
are rules.
against.
You
them.
open the box.
It's a Faustian deal. You know who you're dealing with here.
Yeah,
Or maybe you don't know
I
what
hate
you're
when
doing.
people in horror movies make deals or they try to like get out of it by like offering them something bigger, and it's like, why?
Well, I mean, what
And
would you do if you had accidentally opened the box and they had you by the, the short hairs, so to speak? Like, what are you gonna say? Oh, well, I guess I'm cooked. Like, you're gonna offer him whatever.
Hey, that guy.
I would offer Pinhead the sky. Like, I don't.
Am I
care.
allowed to join you?
Oh, you want to join them?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw those. You see Pinhead with the pins in his head? You'd
I
want to
mean-
join that? You'd be all
That's
about it?
very comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, I
From all
wouldn't.
those
I
pins
don't
in
want
your
to
face.
die.
I don't know. If you ask me, there are things worse than death. I think Frank found that out.
Sure. They put the Lament configuration back together, so it sends all the Cenobites back.
Yeah.
And then she tries to burn it in this random fire somewhere.
Yeah.
And you have, which we didn't talk about, a variant guy who was in her like pet shop earlier. with-
Yeah. He was like
eating
some type of
his
demon or
I
something.
have something for conspiracy corner for
That
that.
I have, yeah. That's,
I have nothing for him, and I'm fine with that. Because
But
what the hell was
you
that
liked
thing?
him turning into that like dragon character.
I liked the effect.
Yeah.
I didn't understand what the hell was going on.
I think he's like a protector of,
Yeah,
of
the
the
bo-
box,
the box.
right? Yeah.
I think he's also probably the
Did
merchant
you get that
gives
from
the
the
box.
2 seconds he was on screen? Like,
Well,
Jesus.
I have to kind of infer what I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because this movie has no depth to it. It's
You
like
have to
telling
use
somebody
your-
to go through a maze and not giving them anything to go.
Here's
off
the
of.
difference between this movie,
Not
though.
gonna
This
think.
movie's not going to tell you everything.
I don't want to think. I just want to go into it. Like, I want them to tell me
Which
what's
surprises
going
me
on.
why you didn't like Friday the 13th Part 5.
Zero
Zero
Okay,
thinking there.
Here's the thing. Why can't we have a balance? You either have a terrible movie with like no like depth to it or whatsoever, or you have a terrible movie with a lot of depth to it. Like there's too much like to like
It sounds pretty consistent to me. what you're describing.
like I want a movie that has like an explanation, but it's not like overly simplified, you know? Like I just want a movie that
Like a
like
violent nature?
no, because that movie didn't have a simple.
I do like this ending shot though of the box
Halloween.
back with the original. It kind of
Yeah.
mirrors the opening scene. So
Exactly.
it's like the box goes on to somebody new now.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of like
Gremlins.
It kind of feels like that protector is like part of the box and like is kind of like the, you know how the One Ring in Lord of the Rings, it kind of like is always looking for somebody kind of thing.
I also like at the end, it's like a shot of Kirsty like on one side of the box. It's
Yeah.
almost as if to say that like this box is like, and I think they describe it as this, but it's interdimensional.
Yeah.
Like it's just showing you one side of the many dimensions
Yeah.
that is held within this box.
Yeah.
It's time for Conspiracy Corner.
Do we have the same conspiracy? I'm
Oh,
curious.
We did talk. I'll let you take it.
Our conspiracy corner, I will label it as that, is NFL quarterback Aaron Rodgers
What are you
is
doing there, Aaron Rodgers?
trying to become a Cenobite. Hear me out.
All right.
This is a man who derives pleasure from pain. He spent 2 years playing for the New York Jets, one of which he tore his ACL 4 plays into a season. These darkness retreats, come on, he's clearly locking himself away, trying to solve the Lament configuration.
On ayahuasca.
Yes, but then of course there is this last damning piece of evidence. He shows up at Kirsty's job at the pet store eating crickets completely off of his tits. Aaron Rodgers is part of the Hellraiser canon.
Oh my
He
goodness.
did eat clay for a long time.
If you look at he looks just like Aaron.
It's Aaron
If
Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers grew a full
Aaron
beard.
Rodgers.
If Aaron Rodgers was homeless, this is what he would look like.
I mean, he kind of already looks like that.
Dang. That's awesome. I appreciate the detail you put into that. Perfect.
My only conspiracy corner was how iconic the Lament configuration is and how it's used in other movies. One of the big ones that I recall is from our Leslie Verne
Yes.
movie. It's kind of used
Behind
as
the
an
Mask.
Easter egg.
Yep.
I don't know if there's any other movies it's used, but it's
Scary movie.
yeah, it's a very iconic puzzle box kind of thing. The puzzle box unto itself is very iconic, and like, you know, it's just meant to represent kind of that forbidden knowledge. And even in Cabin in the Woods, it was an orb in Cabin in the Woods, but
and there was a similar character. to
yeah, he
Pinhead,
had
too.
like chains, or he had like saw blades, I
Yeah,
think, instead.
yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I just think that's kind of cool, and not necessarily a conspiracy, but like that whole like puzzle box kind of thing.
It seems like people too. I don't know if it's still this way, but maybe kids, they know what the puzzle box is, what
Yeah.
the configuration is.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and not to mess with it.
Yeah, like before you had seen this movie, Logan, would you have recognized the Lament Configuration?
Yeah, because I think I've seen clips of it online.
Yeah, it seems like people know what it is.
I wouldn't have known about, like,
I mean, not necessarily
before
know what
this
it is.
podcast, I probably wouldn't have known any of this stuff.
The more you know,
Yeah, the more you know.
broaden your imagination.
Don't mess around with puzzle boxes, especially if some old guy gives them to you and is like, "This is just for you."
Hey,
Just for you.
box.
Any more
old man.
conspiracies?
I don't think I'd take anything from an old man either way.
I've got some candy for you.
Come in
Shit.
the back of this van. There's a whole bag of it
Maybe
here.
I'm thinking
Do
about
you
this
have
wrong.
popsicles?
Oh, hell. Hey there, Chris.
It's time for hot takes.
I have a hot take.
All
as well.
right.
The Lament Configuration is cool, but come on. As a Cenobite, a puzzle box seems inefficient as hell. It's an overly complicated puzzle that summons you. I imagine they have a lot of downtime waiting to be summoned. Like, what do? Do they work on their
BDSM.
Do they work on their lines when they get summoned? Do they ask each other for advice on their
Like
look?
lines of cocaine.
I imagine there's
Quotes.
quite a bit of piercing that goes on.
Probably,
Yeah.
perhaps.
They
They-
got a little tattoo shop down there.
They clearly spend a lot of time together. Like, what do they argue about?
Plus
Would
two
you
of 'em
rather?
don't
Come on,
talk.
come on, man. If you're gonna eat this much, you got to do the dishes.
Right? Like, you
Like
know,
Peter
I'm
Griffin
a
and
business,
his
right?
friends.
And I'm employing these people to be Cenobites. I want them torturing as many people as possible.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure they do that.
And this Lament configuration is not working. I propose the Bazinga configuration,
Ah.
in which the Cenobites are summoned to anyone's home who watches Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon. The Cenobites would be so busy, and there'd be
Man.
so much pain and pleasure
anybody that watches
experienced
that
all
show
at once.
Is already
Anybody
getting
that watches that
tortured
show
enough.
is already there, man. They are already there.
Bazinga!
Dan, you know what I was picturing is the Cenobites in their own dimension.
Watching the Big Bang Theory.
I was picturing the Cenobites and Sheldon with them.
You opened it. We came.
Well, that's it then. I'm dead.
Certainly an exercise in pain. Give them that.
Or they're playing strip Monopoly.
Or they're playing strip Monopoly
And
where
making
nobody
instant
strips.
coffee.
Where nobody strips.
They're arguing about who's making the instant coffee.
All I picture is Peter Griffin and his friends playing doing the Would You Rathers things, and that's the Cenobites playing around.
Yeah. My hot take on this movie is it really is kind of only the first half of what I would consider to be a full movie. And I don't know how far the book goes, but I feel like the second movie is like really explains a lot of stuff and is really critical for a well-rounded, not necessarily an essential, but a well-rounded understanding. And it really, the second movie I feel like is really an excellent movie. And this one's an excellent movie too, but I almost feel like you got to watch both of them, you know. And like I said, I don't think they made any more after that. So it's pretty.
You know what? This is the only one I've seen, so I really do want to see the second.
that's a
The
good
second
thing.
one is excellent, and you know, and I would also urge anybody who watches this to watch Joe Bob Briggs, his drive-in movie theater of both the first and the second one. I think he does them together actually, and he brings the actress Kirsty on, and they talk about a lot of this. He gives a really well thought out defense for physical media, which I think is important. I think a lot of our viewers and listeners, you know, physical media is really important. Joe Bob Briggs has a whole big section on it in that. And I would really urge, if you're going to watch those movies, his commentary on the movies is really excellent.
Yeah, I love the Last Drive in there on Shudder.
I watched it on Shudder, yeah. The Last Drive-In, and he covers both the movies. So,
Awesome. Any more hot takes?
This movie's trash. Nice.
Dang.
Logan's
tough. Him and Ebert. It's time for our Hall of Slaying.
Yeah, you agree with Ebert.
I
Logan.
don't know what Ebert said. That's the problem. I got nothing. I heard cold wind, driving, rain. It's like,
oh, man.
It's like talking like Frankenstein over here. Like, what the hell was that shit?
Just remember, Logan, you're on Ebert's
I
side
feel
on
like,
this one.
You know what? I got to give out about reviewers for just a second before we get to the next thing. What the hell is up with the reviewers and trying to be like as dramatic as possible? Like, just talk normally. Stop trying to sound like big words, like using big words to make you sound more like. Yeah, they're like, oh, and this movie was so like they're using bigger words to like describe it. It's just like, Just say it very like plainly. No one cares about your like
cinema.
They don't have enough time. Just say one word.
It's time for our Hall of Slain. Our Hall of Slain are characters that have died in the movies that we review that would help us get through and survive a horror movie because we are the final girl. Are there any characters from Hellraiser that you would like to nominate?
This is one of those rare movies where I don't feel like there's anybody that would really help us out a whole lot.
The first guy that got killed with the hammer.
What would he
took
do?
that one hammer shot, nothing happened to him. He was more confused than anything.
Probably not.
You take a couple hammer shots.
It probably wasn't the brightest bulb in the
He had
lamp
hair
there.
that would make anyone stand up.
I didn't like him too much. I'm gonna vote him down.
Yeah,
It's gonna be no for me, dog.
yeah. I don't really have anybody. I mean, Julia.
We don't like Julia.
I don't want that bitch.
I want to nominate Butterball because like he
didn't
technically-
die.
He technically got incapacitated.
Oh yeah, he got the
We'll put him in
debris
the
fell
damn
off.
He
wing.
didn't get lament configuration.
I don't know, man. I don't know that I want to be rolling with any Cenobites. I feel like they would be on the killer's side.
Well, we can. Well, you know what we could do, Bearclaw? We could put him in his own wing. You can have your own wing, like I have my own wing, full of the Frog
I want to
Brothers.
be clear. I'm not voting for the Cenobite.
No, it was a feeler. Just put it out.
Yeah.
there,
Gotcha. I like where your mind's going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta keep your head on.
we have to explore the whole piece,
Yeah.
you know, to see if there's any,
I say we bring Frank in the Logan's wing.
Yeah, I agree. I think Frank would be a good
Can I
addition
get
to
Larry
Logan's
in
wing.
the Logan wing?
Larry, you want Larry?
Larry?
I don't know. Good dad. We need good people.
Yeah.
I want a good person in my. I got
What
the.
would he do?
You
for
know what I
us?
got in my Logan wing? I got the Frog Brothers and
And the Greaser Boys.
The Greaser Boys.
and the
Yeah.
Greaser Boys, but you're forgetting about the most important person, Tim Capello.
Tim Capello's in all of ours.
Yeah.
Not just
He's
Well,
the
he's mostly in mine.
no, he's in all of ours.
hanging
we
out.
decided to bring him in.
He's hanging out in mine mostly. So what?
This argument right now. No, he's in my way.
We're fighting over Tim Capello again.
Well, let me tell you, Tim Capello is a key player.
Can we vote for him again?
in this movie?
In this movie.
Was he in there?
He should have
I
been.
mean,
Was he on the streets?
what would happen if Tim Capello opened the Lament Configuration?
Oh my goodness.
No, there's nobody in
Yeah,
this movie.
I don't think there's not really anybody worth.
Is this the first movie we don't have anybody?
No, the thing we didn't bring anybody in either because
Yeah.
of contamination. So.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
I was
true.
gonna say,
Don't
you
want to
gotta
get
be
that.
wary of that.
We already had COVID. Don't want that.
Even though Fuchs probably didn't have any
I
contamination.
like the doc. The doc, I would probably have had.
I'm still salty about the doc not getting in.
All right, nobody for Hellraiser. Gavel sound. It's time for hook, line, and stinker. Our hook is our favorite kill of the movie. Our line is our favorite line or quote from the movie. And stinker is something funny, awful, or weird that happens that makes the movie either better or worse. My hook, maybe a lot of us share the same one, is Frank's death with Jesus wept.
Jesus wept.
I mean, come on.
Yep.
That's mine too.
That's mine, too.
I mean, that's just.
Oh.
Jesus wept.
Is that yours too, Logan?
No.
Or no? Okay, cool. I mean, it's iconic. The imagery is amazing. My line is from Pinhead.
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
It's a waste of good suffering.
Oh, yeah.
And he says it like a priest, you know. Like,
I think you're going to say he says it like a
No.
prick.
This is like such a dick.
He's such a dickhead. Dickhead Cenobites.
My stinker is kind of what I talked about too. I wanted more Cenobites in this movie. I know it's cool.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Like when they're on screen, it's just like this is the coolest thing in the movie, and I wanted more of them. And like I liked those sequences, like when the walls open and Kirsty's going. Like I wanted more.
Well,
like play more in the sandbox.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of like Freddy, I guess, but like I like those dream worlds or other dimension stuff. I really.
Oh boy, you're gonna love the second one.
I'm excited.
Second one is fun.
Yeah.
See it.
Did you want more Cenobites and less Frank, or did you just want like an equal?
See, I didn't mind Frank, but if I could have got more Cenobites, then less Frank.
Yeah.
You know, so it wasn't a
Give
big
and
deal.
take.
Yeah, for sure. Dan, how about you?
I'm not going to go through my hook. You already went through it. Line, who are you?
Explorers in the further regions of experience. Demons to some, angels to others.
Demons to some, angels to others. I
Sounds
like
like a line from The Crow.
Yeah,
Don't
can't rain all the
ever.
time.
This movie is like
Ever say
a
that.
torturous version of The Crow,
No, no.
except worse. No crow.
Except the lines have like meaning, you know, like that line
Yeah.
is like very heavy
I thought
and
I
has a
killed
lot
ya.
of thoughts. It's not like something like it doesn't rain every day. Like
Bearclaw, have you seen the newest Crow movie?
I have not had
Oh
the pleasure.
man, he hasn't seen the greatest line yet.
Well, I think you know what movie to cover next. Then.
You killed me. Yeah, I did.
Oh,
So I like that line because I like that, like, it's exposition of what the Cenobites are, but it only provides like this abstract concept, like you were talking
Yeah.
about earlier, Bearclaw. It's as if to say they operate on another plane of reality that you could never comprehend.
yeah.
My stinker, I mentioned it earlier, the engineer. Like, this thing didn't hold up well. You can clearly see it's on a rig being pushed when it's chasing Kirsty. I don't like its design. Anatomically, it looks like its lower half levitates off the ground while its upper body is using its arms to glide.
Looks like a human chicken nugget.
Ooh, that's an interesting one. Yeah, didn't think of that way. They offer no exposition into what the thing was or how it was connected to the Cenobites. It didn't need to be there. They could have used my boy Butterball in there to get some extra screen time instead.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Butterball would have been good.
Badass Butterball.
The only reason I know any of their names is because of Spencer Gifts. Friggin'.
I was just gonna say big boy, woman, Pinhead, and other dude.
I don't know what the woman's name is. That's kind of bothering me now.
I
that
just
know.
call her woman.
I think in the credits she was just known as the female Cenobite.
Or I would just call them them. He's not actually Pinhead, though. He's a lead Cenobite.
he's the lead Cenobite. But
Yeah.
in the novella, right, he was just titled the head priestess or something like that, right?
Yeah, he wasn't known.
I was
as
just
him.
looking at the credits instead of what
Yeah.
lead Cenobite.
And in the novella too, I believe he was more ambiguous. Like he wasn't necessarily a he.
Well, I don't think they're all like gendered. I feel like they're very like Sandman-esque.
They're
where
kind
it's
of
like,
they.
They're they. Like, and I honestly, I think it's kind of cool because the big thing I do like about Sandman is that they're not like hell bent on those like. Because that's a big thing is when I was getting into Sandman, I was like, please don't let this be like a, like, everybody's something. Like, it's just like, they're very much just like, they're cool looking and they got cool designs. That's pretty much it.
I guess she was known as Deep Throat.
Editor's note, Deep Throat was a name given to the female Cenobite by the fans. It's not an official name.
I'm dead serious, yeah.
What?
Also referred to as
What?
Deep Throat or Sister Nicoletta.
I think Deep Throat. I think I downloaded the wrong Hellraiser movie.
Okay, can
I think I got a new favorite Cenobite.
She shot the one on the list.
Dude, there is a scene in this
And then right under it, a Reddit thread of, I always found the female Cenobite attractive.
Can we bring her in the Hall of Sleep?
Okay, let's rewind. Deep Throat. Let's put her in.
She was the makeup artist. Yeah, she's pretty.
Dang. All right, Bearclaw. Well, it's your turn. Hook, line, or stinker?
Hook, line, and stinker. Okay, so
As we're looking at pictures of Deep Throat.
Jesus, chill.
no, it was the Cenobite.
Get
Get your minds into
Sure it was, Bearclaw.
Get your minds into the gutter, maybe? I don't know, because the
Bearclaw's
Cenobites are
trying to
not-
open the Lament Configuration.
Right
Put that
now.
back.
Come here.
Hey, he's trying to open the box
gonna
in a
ask-
whole new way.
Oh. Well,
There's a fart for you.
my hook is, of course, Frank. I mean, that's, come on. I mean, there's nothing that tops that. I have two lines that kind of play off of each other. When the merchant and Frank were talking about the Lament Configuration, the merchant says, take it, it's yours. Frank takes the box and walks off, and the merchant says,
It always was.
it always was. And then my second line, which comes from Frank, is,
I thought I'd gone to the limits. I hadn't. The Cenobites gave me an experience beyond the limits. Pain and pleasure, indivisible.
Pain and pleasure, indivisible. Like, just trying to wrap your mind around that is a hard concept of like, and that's what I kind of see the Cenobites as. They're a hard concept. They're beyond your understanding of things, you know, and that's what I really think that this movie is good with, is producing something that's beyond your understanding. And that's a big theme in all cosmic horror. That's a big theme in esotericism. So it's very interesting to me. And the only stinker I had was, again, when Kirsty doesn't notice that her father is profusely bleeding out of every orifice. Like, like you didn't pick up on anything there. Like, but that was my only stinker, because I think this movie's quite excellent. So yeah.
All right, Logan, how about you?
Say art is blind. My hook is Julia's death, because it made me feel actually happy for once throughout this movie. Like, I actually felt like, man, finally.
She got what she deserved.
Something actually happened. Line, the mover.
Got her mother's looks. Her mother's dead.
Her mother's dead.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Just like, it's so quick and sudden that it's just like, holy shit, like, okay.
Dang.
Her mother's dead. Like, okay, Jesus. My stinker is, you know me and blood. Brother, you're bleeding all over the place. No one else bothered to help this idiot. There's like 40 people moving shit downstairs, but instead he went all the way up to the attic to help. Like, how did he know she was there?
I don't know, but that other mover was not going to help Frank. I mean, Larry. Fuck. Larry, Frank.
Same dude. They're both terrible.
Well, at one point, yeah, I guess they are, but.
And your honorable mentions.
I have an honorable mention. I forget how to like work this in, but the Chatterer guy gives Kirsty the mandible claw.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, she did. I forgot about that. Oh my God, dude.
Dang.
That might be my
Mankind
stinker.
was smiling.
That might be my stinker, actually. I forgot all about that. God, that made me like.
What made me remember it was your hook, because like there's also like it's also very reminiscent of wrestling, where like the guy with the chair goes to hit the good guy who's being held by the other bad guy.
Those who go
out the way, and the bad guy stabs the other bad guy.
Those who set it up must go through it. Unwritten rule.
Dan, going off of yours, man, you jogged one loose in my mind for a stinker in this movie. It's fucking Julia sucking Frank's fingers.
Oh.
Don't put that in your mouth.
You know what's another stinker? The flashbacks. My God, man, that made me want to myself. Jesus. Like the whole scene where he's like, hey, I'm here for the wedding. And she's like, oh, I didn't. Who are you? And he's like, I'm your brother. And it's like, I usually skip these scenes.
Franks.
Like, what the hell is going on? This is like shot in like a cheap porno. Like, what the hell is going on right now? Jesus, that was terrible. So many stinkers in this movie.
Oh, man. It's time for our final rating.
They're gonna rate the movie. What will they rate the movie? The killer is great, the victim sucks, the survivor is in between.
What was that?
Our final rating system is Killer. It's our highest rating. It's awesome. We would highly recommend it, and it is a must watch. Survivor is our middle tier. It was a good movie we would probably recommend and has some rewatchability. And finally, The Dreaded Victim. It's our lowest rating. It's a bad movie we do not recommend and has no rewatchability. For me, Hellraiser, I'm going to give it a highest Survivor. I'm kind of between Survivor and Killer, but I just think I wanted, again, more Cenobites, but it's one of those movies that, like, rewatching wise, it's not one that I'll rewatch over and over again. I like it a lot. Don't get me wrong. I think that this is a great movie, and I think if you haven't watched Hellraiser, you should watch it. The body horror is amazing. I mean, the special effects for the 80s are outstanding. It really has some memorable scenes. It has these villains that you hate in Frank and Julia, and it has these other villains in the Cenobites, Pinhead. I mean, these awesome creatures. You really want to see more. And I think that's, at the end of the day, I wanted more. So I'm excited really to see the second one and maybe go into some of these other movies in the franchise. But I think at the end of the day, it's kind of like dipping my toes into the Lament Configuration just a little bit, and I want more. Dan, how about you?
You and I are on the same page. I'm right there with you. I give Hellraiser like a high-end survivor. It's a unique and original story, offers up one of the more visually stunning horror icons in Pinhead. The makeup effects artists deserve a lot of credit for capturing Clive Barker's vision from his literary works. I would say, and Logan touched on this earlier, my biggest gripes with this movie are the characters, in that there are too many unsavory characters in this world that it makes Kirsty's character almost unrealistically good. Like, she comes from another reality herself.
It's not like she's a good character. It's just that there's nobody else there.
That's true too.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you were alluding to with like your Friday the 13th take.
Yeah, I was just like, I feel like there was no one like
she was the final girl because like she was the only good character.
She was the final girl based on circumstances. Like she was circumstantially the final girl.
Yeah. And to continue on, like when there are movies that take a more serious tone, the expectation is for the audience to care about characters. And for me, this movie didn't execute it as well as it could have, because they made Larry so pathetic, hapless, and codependent on Julia that when Kirsty loses him, I'm kind of like, whatever. Like, what did you expect? Like, this was the bed Larry chose to lie in. For me, it's lacking in a bit of heart due to a lack of endearing characters. It's not going to hinder me in any way from still recommending this movie to horror fans to check out, and to also follow it up by checking out Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. It's more of that dark fantasy that Bearclaw has been talking about. It goes further into the lore, and it's a much more entertaining film than this like introductory piece of Clive Barker's, world building, because that's what this is. That's all I have. What do you got, Bearclaw?
So I think this is going to come no surprise. This is a killer, because it is. I mean, it's really the first time I think a wider group of audiences were exposed to what I would consider to be esoteric horror. I think this is one of the better representations of cosmic horror, because again, it's, these characters are making choices in an uncaring universe. There's no angel that's coming to save them. They are flawed characters. They are realistically flawed characters. They have character. They are developed. They're Frank is a fully developed character. I think Julia is a fully developed character. Compared to a lot of other first horror movies, I think you don't see a lot of the main characters in a lot of first horror movies. They don't play the biggest parts. So I don't know. I think that this is killer. I think even though it may not be as hardcore maybe as the second movie is, I think it's a necessary thing to kind of really outlay Frank and Frank's motivations, and the kind of person that would seek forbidden knowledge is Frank. That kind of obsessive, like totally without the, off the rails, going hard, will turn over every corner of the earth to find that thing that's missing in them. And I think that's an incredibly compelling story. And you've got the Cenobites, and just when they're on screen, it's just electric. And I think they were used sparingly. And you see later in this series, when they're not used sparingly, how disastrous that turns out to be. Even though in the second movie, they really find a good method to use them. But yeah, just judging this movie on its own, I think it's absolutely essential watching, and I rated a killer.
All right, Logan.
No, this wasn't cinema. This was a really bad movie. It wasn't my kind of movie. I think it's cool. Like, I think it's definitely unique. It has a unique kind of feel to it, but like, man, it's nerdy as all balls, and it is really just like, it's made for like people that are really into like this sort of thing. I gotta say, this is kind of how I view like Terrifier in a way. It's not my thing, but I know people enjoy it. I don't like the torture realm of horror, so like I can't really get into like the full thing. The pacing of the movie, the characters, like pretty much everything about it just doesn't work. There's a lot of cool elements to it, like the effects are great, music's awesome, and I think like it's definitely unique, but it's just a no for me, dog.
So is it a victim?
Yeah, it's a victim.
Well, Nathan, our producer, also gave his rating, and he said, I tuned in for Cenobites, and I got 40 minutes of some dead asshole trying to corpse fuck his brother's wife.
Yep, pretty much.
Still, this movie has some really great moments, and when the Cenobites do show up, they're cool as hell. Survivor. We also asked you, our audience, what your thoughts were on Hellraiser, so let's check our Instagram, and that's at mouths.of.madness. From 321 Ghost Pod, it's a killer! Bearclaw, you got another one. Natalie _May _ an absolute classic. I love it. Julia is such an underrated villain of the horror genre.
She really is, and especially in 2, you start to see. Oh well, I don't want to spoil. I don't want to spoil anything, but this is not the last time we see Julia.
From Hawaiian Lilypad, love it, and a face emoji with the heart eyes. Harley Quinn, 1913. It's something very different and scary, but really amazing to watch. From superhero _horror _creep. Love it.
I'm just glad that all of our listeners out there, I'm right there with you guys.
Well, let us know at the paddedroom@outlook.com if you agree with Bearclaw's take. And which Cenobite do you like the most? Let them know at the paddedroom@outlook.com.
From Kate L45678. I was too scared to watch this for the longest time. Pinhead terrified me. And whilst it isn't my favorite franchise, I love it for the chaotic, horny, gory, sometimes confusing journey that it is.
Yeah.
From friend of the podcast, Modern Monstrous, Hellraiser has such sights to show you. I don't think it gets as much love as it deserves for the amazing effects, the iconic puzzle box, and all the meaning Clive Barker put into it.
Yeah, and that's a line we didn't use a lot either. Is I'm glad you brought that up. We have such sights to show you. That's such a creepy line, but it's so cool.
I also appreciate how he redid Kirsty's character and gave her depth and purpose. Such a fun and disturbing watch. Killer. There are no bondage emojis, so I have these. And she put chains, a knife, and a hook.
There's no bondage emojis yet.
Apple, get on it.
From Hannah Blackmon. Hellraiser is truly such an iconic horror movie. I can vividly remember seeing the movie on the shelf every time I went to a video rental store, and it always intrigued me, but I didn't see it until the early 2000s. The body horror in it is unmatched, and the score is killer. I feel Pinhead has earned his flowers and falls perfectly in line with the other infamous horror characters, Michael, Chucky, Freddy, Leatherface, Jason, etc. And I'm stoked to hopefully meet Doug Bradley at Scarefest weekend this October. Oh man, I hope you meet him.
Awesome.
My only complaint about the movie is Ashley Lawrence, Kirsty, screaming through the majority of the movie can drive you up a wall, but she is a scream queen, so I guess that is to be expected.
Yeah, that's a final girl behavior. You know, I gotta say, I gotta agree with them. I remember going to Blockbuster. Oh man, this had to be like almost 12 years ago, probably to this point. And seeing the Hellraiser DVD there, and it scared the shit out of me.
From friend of the podcast, Dissect That Film Pod, Hellraiser is a movie that makes you feel like you need a shower after you're done watching it. Wild performances, stellar practical effects, and a score that'll keep you coming back for more. It's Clive Barker at his best, and I feel he has never been able to replicate what this movie did to his legacy. From Josh _horror dude, Hellraiser is my very favorite horror movie of all time. Wow, awesome, Josh. Throughout the film, there is the sense of dread and uneasiness from beginning to end. The performances are terrific. A beautiful yet haunting score, phenomenal practical effects, great story, awesome villains, both human and demon, and my favorite final girl of all time. FYI, I enjoy pleasure and pain.
You know, I just want to say this about our listeners. Not only are they good looking, they have amazing taste as well.
Jesus, you're building up their ego, man.
I just want to say that really feeling the love for this one, guys. So thank you.
And they have great taste. Look at who they're listening.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for your comments. Bearclaw really appreciates the backup on this one. But I mean, Dan, me, and Nathan too, we all thought that this was a really good movie and it's worth a watch. So if you haven't seen Hellraiser, thanks for listening, but go see it. Before we end the episode, we want to embrace the madness and let you all know what we've been up to. I just watched for Straight Jacket Talk this past week, Escape from New York.
Oh, yeah.
You hadn't seen it before?
Oh, I've seen it. It's one of my favorite John Carpenter movies. Yeah. I am a Carpenter fanatic at this point.
Oh, we know.
I know.
Listen to John Carpenter daily. All I hear now is I enter his room is John Carpenter music, and it sounds like streaming.
Listen, if you're out there and you're like, man, I want some John Carpenter, message us on Instagram. I'll send you my Spotify John Carpenter playlist so you can get
I'm going to have to message you because I want that. I want that list.
You can just send it to you.
No. I want direct message Kevin, and I want it sent to me through Spotify.
If you haven't seen Escape from New York, I recommend it. It's awesome. The music is iconic. Kurt Russell, Snake Plissken, is one of the most iconic characters of all time. Go check it out. Have fun. Grab some popcorn, a couple beers, have your friends over.
Keep your straight jacket on tight.
Keep your Straight Jacket Talk on.
Well, I mean, you can do that too.
Watch Straight Jacket Talk coming up. We will be reviewing it. That's it for me. How about you, Dan?
I have to pass this week. I couldn't think of anything. I wasn't really watching anything that new. You know, like how you have like your own shows you kind of like watch pretty consistently.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like, I have anything new to share.
I'll share you the John Carpenter Spotify list. So next time.
I'll talk about it next week. Yeah, great idea.
My pick is next week, so I've been auditioning some movies. So I went through a couple of them, and I landed on The Ninth Gate, but I rewatched The Frighteners, which is a classic, and I'm sure at some point we'll end up covering that with Michael J. Fox, and my boy Jeffrey Combs is in it as well as the FBI agent. That's a fantastic and truly fun movie if anybody gets a chance to watch that. And also I watched Overlord, which is also on Shudder. Shudder's really fantastic streaming service. Overlord's really cool. I really like that whole like zombies and World War II aesthetic of that movie. I thought that movie was going to be hot garbage when I first watched it, but then I watched it and it was truly something special. So Overlord was great, and I'm really standing in anticipation and excitement for Ash to come to Shudder. I think it's coming later this month, but that's the one with the guy from Breaking Bad in it.
Bryan Cranston?
No, the other one.
Aaron Paul?
Aaron Paul is in it, and it's kind of like a cosmic horror space adventure, which I really am excited. That's coming out. So
is that a movie or a series?
It's a movie that's coming out, so I'm really excited to dive into that as well. So yeah.
Bearclaw, giving viewers something to look forward to.
Yeah, it hit theaters, but I didn't catch it in theaters, so I'm excited for it to be coming to Shudder.
Logan, how about you?
Mission Impossible.
Oh, yeah.
Cinema.
He's been talking this movie up.
That's all I'm going to say about it, because I don't want to get into spoiler land, but my God, man, I enjoyed the shit out of it. 2 hours and
Tom Cruise running it all during it.
Yes, and it was awesome. I gotta say, usually in Mission Impossible movies, it is my biggest like turn off with those movies is him just running for 40 minutes, because sometimes it's a little like played out. But my God, man, this movie. Okay, I gotta say, the last two movies it made sense. But my God, man, this movie just from beginning to end was just tense as all hell. 2 hours and 40 minutes of just plain awesomeness by Tom Cruise.
Is he able to collect Social Security yet?
I think so.
I think he would. You know what, though? I'm not a huge, like, Tom Cruise, like, guy in real life. But my God, I have a lot of respect for him in the, like, business. Because, dude, this guy just can do the craziest things and then just, like, keep on doing it.
I mean, he couldn't collect it in full, but he could start. He's 62.
I mean, that's such to your point, Logan. I mean, it's a testament to this man's ability to.
He's never going to give up. He's never going to give up. And
do these movies at the same like physical like intensity.
And he's not going to give up. That's the thing. He even said in an interview, like after this, he's not done. He's got 2 more movies.
So he didn't die in this one. Got it. I think the next one I'm going to see is the one where they finally like.
I'm not going to say anything.
No spoilers.
I will say this. He has he hasn't said anything about doing Mission Impossible again, but the 2 movies that he has put out there is he's going to be doing a movie with Michael B. Jordan and another movie with the director of this, Christopher McQuarrie, who is really good. He did the Top Gun movie, which is a great movie.
Yeah.
The other thing I did start watching is I'm rewatching Stranger Things because I'm getting ready for the new season.
Is this going to be the final
season? They've announced it last night that it is going to be November, that the last season begins, and then they're gonna be doing like 3 volumes. So like,
man, 11 will be 30 by then.
Yeah, all those kids look old as balls, dude. One kid has a beard and shit. Like, holy,
he's not a kid anymore.
He's like 20.
Yeah,
that's like still within the range. You know, that's the thing though. There's so many kids that are still acting like they're teenagers. Like, that's the thing. Like, that whole Fear Street prom queen thing, all those kids are like in their 20s and they still like hella young. So like, I don't think there's a problem with it. But I really must say, like, rewatching the first season of Stranger Things, I binged that shit like in one like week. And my God, it was like, I really must say that show was really good the first season. And the second season I have like just started, but then I was like brought back. The nostalgia hit me where I was like, man, this is what good television is, because I missed it for so long.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to the Mouths of Madness on your favorite audio platform and YouTube. If you've enjoyed your descent into madness, we really would appreciate it if you would rate us 5 stars and leave us a review. You can find us on Instagram at mouths.of.madness. We have a great YouTube channel where you can check out our exclusive video podcast, Straight Jacket Talk, at Mouths of Madness. Finally, we have our email address. Write to Bearclaw at thepatternroom@outlook.com and let him know if the Mouths of Madness are demons or angels.
Yeah, definitely hit me up. Let me know what your thoughts are. Feel free to dive into conspiracy theories and some deep Cenobite lore, and we'll hash it out in the emails.
His favorite one is the CD one. Talk to him about the one that's made out of
it would be
CD.
between that one and the one with a camcorder for the head and the one with 2 people mixed together.
Toss 'em.
It's hard to choose with such a selection.
Well, that does it for our review on Hellraiser. We'll be back soon with another episode, and we're going to be reviewing Bearclaw's pick, The Ninth Gate.
Oh yeah, very excited.
But until then, back to the padded room with you.
That was such a dick move. I can't believe the audacity of those assholes. It smells like onions and ketchup in here. We didn't even get to show them any sights. What the fuck? Demons to some, angels to others, stinky to most. I'm never gonna be able to wash this out of my liver. It smells like dookie.
Nathan, insert sound of a massive wet fart being ripped.